Alright, in this video we're checking out the Geelang Anger 85X 4K. So I've done previous videos on the 4K camera that's in here. It's the Caddx Loris. And so I'm not going to be covering the camera in specific details in this video. So if you want to see more details on the camera, check out the card in the corner, link in the description to that review. You'll get full details on that camera in that video. This is basically the 4K version of the Anger 85X that I reviewed a couple months back. They've revised it somewhat, so it has the same frame, I believe, the same plastic frame. It's a pretty decent frame and canopy, but they've sort of rearranged the parts and everything. So obviously, in addition to the 4K camera now, instead of the analog camera, they have a different stack in here. So it's a little bit hard to see because it's kind of buried in here. So you have a 16 by 16 flight controller and 4-in-1 ESC, not a whoop style board. So it looks like this is a whoop style board, but this is actually like a, I don't know, some sort of a piece of fiberglass or something here that the flight controller is actually screwed into. And I wish I could get some, wish I could see that better, but it's just so hard to see in this lighting. It's very, very tiny. So this flight controller is sitting on top of this board that's actually connected to the whoop mounts, but it's actually a 16 by 16 F4 flight controller. So I think it's an Matek F411 based flight controller. And then the 4-in-1 ESC is also kind of buried in there. Yeah, it's not going to come out in the video. That is also, I think, mounted to the underside of this piece right here as well. And that 4-in-1 ESC is 12 amps bursting to 15 amps at the PLLS, and the motors are directly soldered to the 4-in-1 ESC. You have your XT30 with a small cap on there, and the motors are different here. I think the previous one, the Anger 85X, had a 1202 motor. This is a 1204 5000 kV with the HQ 2x2x4 props. So they're recommending 3 or 4S batteries for this, and I'm used a, I think it was what they recommended is the 4S 450. So this is the one I use from Beta FPV. I think if you go 3S 450 or 3S 550, should fly fine. I didn't really test it out on 3S, but you probably may want to adjust the pid tune. It flew pretty good on 4S. I think the pid tune's actually meant for 4S, and it's going to feel a little bit underpowered on 3S. So if you maybe want to fly indoors a little bit slower, 3S might be the way to go in that case. So the video transmitter is actually tucked inside the canopy here. It's like, I think it's 16 by 16 size. It's screwed into the canopy there, and I think on this side as well. And you have a circular polarized antenna here. It looks kind of like a Rush cherry antenna. I'm not exactly sure if it is or not. Wasn't too clear. And then this piece here in the front, that's cut on the camera, this is an ND filter. And this doesn't normally come with the Loris. This is an add-on from Geelang. So I'm not sure if it's an ND8 or 16. It's there's no information about it on the website. Just looking at it, sort of, you know, anecdotally looking at it, not scientifically, I think it's an ND8, and obviously you can pull it off. It's meant to be taken on and off based on the lighting conditions. So if you're in pretty sunny conditions, this will give you a little bit of motion blur in your 4K footage. Now, they did set the camera up as a not in the 4K mode, and if you go back to the Loris review, you'll get an explanation as to what's going on with this camera in the FPV feed. Basically, in 4K 30, which is your best video, I guess the best video that you're gonna get out of this camera, the FPV view is very jittery and has a lot of lag, so it's not that flyable. In general, these split style cameras are, most people that are FPV view, like, I guess, or looking for the best FPV view aren't going to like these cameras anyway. But, you know, I think people are looking to get some sort of a 4K or high quality footage out of a form factor that's small, without adding an extra camera or more weight. This kind of style camera is really the only way to go, unless you're willing to go with a bigger camera or more weight. So that's kind of why they put these into these small little tiny whoops. Alright, so here's the weight. And we'll throw the ND filter on here. So without a battery, it's coming at 78.4, and then with the 4S 450, we're at 135 grams. Alright, so real quick, just like before, you get a nice case, and fits the drone very nice. You get a spare canopy, get a cleaning cloth, that's probably for the ND filter. I'm not sure what this board here, this is an extra board for that adapter that holds the flight controller and the AC to the whip style mounting. I think that's what that is. And then you get the extra parts for the Loris. I think you get the, this right here converts the camera from nano camera to a micro camera. You get extra rubber bands. This is for the joystick controller if you want to change the settings. So the extra parts that are included there. They do include these little foam bumpers if you want to stick them on the outside, I think, of the ducts. So these are meant to go on the ducts here if you want, say, a little bit of cushion if you're flying it indoors. You don't want to be scratching your TV or something like that. I think that's what this is for. They include a USB cable. It's got a longer micro USB connector here because the USB port is a bit recessed, so it could be a little bit hard to get to. And another thing to note here that I forgot to mention is you can see the micro SD card slot right above the USB port. Again, it's really hard to see. Let's see. Let's see if I can get it to come on camera. It's very difficult to see, but there's, trust me, there's a micro SD card slot right there, right above the USB port. So it can get you a little tricky getting the micro SD cards in and out of the Loris camera board there, so something to be aware of. It's not the best arrangement of parts here because the Loris camera is basically touching the flight controller, and in some builds they might cause vibration issues. So mine it didn't actually have too much oscillation or vibrations, so it wasn't a problem for me. But be aware that if you're having some issues there, you may want to think about maybe loosening up these screws here on the canopy so they're not so tightened down onto the flight controller. Because that when these screws here are too, are tightened down too hard, it's going to put pressure on the flight controller, pushing it down, and might cause vibrations, and you get very bad flight characteristics. All right, and the last thing here is a little QR code here for your manual if you want to download that, and then you get a manual for the XM Plus. And this does come in other receiver versions, so obviously this is the XM Plus version here. You can get it with no receiver, just plug and play. It comes in a Crossfire version, FlySky 2A receiver version, and also an AC 900 version. That's another FreeSky receiver with a single antenna. I think that's a FreeSky clone. And those are all the versions that are available to purchase with this particular model. Alright, so here's some of the flight footage for you. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Alright, so the tune doesn't sound too bad. Don't hear anything weird. Let's see here. Alright, so gonna give me the yaw wash out there. Whoa! Alright, these rates are pretty high. So I don't think this is an acro machine anyway, so I'm not going to be doing any serious freestyle with this thing. Just getting the HD footage. I think this is in 2.7K mode, not 4K mode. Yeah, it's a little later in the day, the sun's starting to go down, so the video is not the best. And I've already done a review on the Loris camera. I'll link that in the description. So I'm not covering the camera here. Just looking at the quad. You can do some rolls and try to split us there. Did a little bit of yaw washout. A bit of wind as well. Now, flying into the sun like this, pretty tough. This one has came with an XM Plus receiver. I think it comes with crossfire as well if you're looking to go further. I mean, I know some of you guys really hate these split style cameras. Ooh, there's a gap. Hard to see. But I've always been able to fly around the latency and the image issues. And by the way, I'm flying a 4S450, and this prop size KV motor is probably about right. Let's see what it sounds like now. We're at least halfway through the battery, if not more. Tune's pretty decent. See here, I'll do like a little bit of a faster pass. Yeah, with the camera tilt I have, it's just going to go up when I raise the throttle. Okay, so this is the whoop. This is going to be pretty good for like indoor situations. You know, it's like for some of you guys are like, oh, you should be just be flying the whoop with the GoPro, and yeah, you can do that, of course. I have lots of videos on that as well. But there's lots of guys out there that either don't have a GoPro, can't afford a GoPro, don't want to take apart a GoPro, all that, but they still want to get decent looking footage from something this small and this weight class. This is an option. And just because it isn't right for you doesn't mean that it's not right for somebody else. Let's see here. I'm really curious to see how this footage looks. I don't think I've ever flew the Loris at this time of day. .1 volts, so we're at the end of the battery here. Almost 6 minutes of flight, so not bad. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.